Lately, we've been getting chapter after chapter that locks onto a singular subject the majority of the way through. I'm not complaining, I believe that format is perfectly fine, however, it feels so good to get a chapter packed full of so much juicy information. I feel like I haven't given them their official due, but let me just say here and now, the 4 shining stars are awesome. I'd be lying if I didn't admit they were almost stealing my attention from Best Girl Pino. Life or death debates aside, there is a lot to unpack, so let's get down to business. Hello everyone, I'm Ozzy, and this is my Eden Zero 90 chapter analysis. Mashima starts off the chapter by letting the infiltration team flourish their skills on some fodder-level baddies. There's nothing particularly noteworthy about this, however, after narrowly escaping the dreary World 29, it's nice to be reminded that the crew is incredibly capable. Moving on to the main event of Daichi vs. Sister, Mashima shoves us headfirst into another one of his weird fetishes. We all had to have seen this dynamic coming considering the matchup. Despite the weird sexual tension, there was a lot to glean from this fight. Starting with Sister's use of a whip. Initially it seemed that she used hand-to-hand combat, but we've now seen what she calls her Paradise Whip being used. Although the damage it deals ends up coming into play later, I believe that isn't inherently from the whip. Despite that, much like what I said last chapter, I am confident we are only seeing a small portion of her true power. Noting some revelations about Daichi's Pain Tree ability, contrary to how I initially believed it to behave, rather than through physical touch, it seems he can set up his other gear as a trap that, for all intents and purposes, was relatively powerful. Remember, binding cancels out other gear, so against the proper opponent, this ability can be devastating. Unfortunately, he was against the worst possible opponent. Yet again, mirroring the Gilst arc, Sister unleashes her Dispel Driver to render her binding useless. 2 notable concepts stem from this scene. The first being that the Shining Stars are in fact not using other gear. Secondly, this ability is likely to play a major role in combating Drac and Joe should an occasion arise. And thirdly, Sister in fact does not need to remove her clothes in order to use this skill. Overheal was such an awesome way to end the fight. I love the concept behind it. I was reminded of Giorno's ability in early Part 5 of JoJo, paired with the hospital scene from Josuke in Part 4.
おめえをすでに直しといた。動けるかい？動けるだろう。怪我はすっかり治っただろう。治っている。そう。一旦おめえを治せばよ。これで全然卑怯じゃねえわけだな。本上優也、入院続行。
Surprisingly, this chapter also featured an interaction between Witch and Laguna. Honestly, I'm fairly confident this is as far as their fight will be going. Laguna from the start was at a big disadvantage, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's lost the will to fight. It's also interesting to see that Witch has done a fair bit of research on him. There's a good bit of mystery behind him that leads me to like him even more than I already did. I might be getting ahead of myself with this, but I'm getting vibes as if he will end up joining the crew. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'll be talking about that in another video. The chapter finishes out returning to the infiltration team. They have already managed to find Labillia, however, even more surprisingly, she is completely fine. It can be inferred that she was likely tortured during the time Rebecca was unconscious after Sylph captured her. More so than her safety, what causes me far more concern is that Sibir is here. I don't trust him or this situation for a minute. He has no legitimate reason to know that they would be there, let alone on the planet. He has never even seen their ship before. For him to be here is nothing short of Drac and Joe. But that's all for this chapter. It seems that all that's left of the Element 4 is Sylph. I expect the next chapter to be mostly dedicated towards that side of things. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments what you expect and whether you anticipate Jin interrupting their one-on-one. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, Sil.